Live auction selling is blazing hot, but there's something you need to know, something they don't tell you, and today, I'm gonna enlighten you. My name's Ty. I host a show called Chasing Cardboard, and I resell tens of thousands of items every year. When I first heard about live auctions, I kind of laughed a little, thinking, seriously, in this day and age of fast-paced lifestyles, you want to build a business around getting on people's schedules? I mean, I can barely get a call back from close friends or find time to watch my favorite team's games. Why am I going to bank on the availability of someone else's schedule? Yeah, I'll pass. Don't disrupt my flow is kind of what I'm thinking. Not to mention, I love the ease of selling something on eBay on my timeline and letting it sell on the buyer's timeline. So why care? Well, about 9 months ago, I couldn't stop ignoring the energy and the commotion around live auctions. I had no shortage of folks reaching out about the excitement of selling in the live format. We had Whatnot, which is crushing it. You had eBay Live jumping into the game. You had Loupe and Fanatics, which were doing their thing, and so on. So I took some time to watch other respected content creators host their live auctions, and it was intriguing. There was a new element to the game. Now you could take a pretty stale item and you could inject life into it. You could answer questions, you could describe the nuances, and you could even add your live descriptions. And in my case, I could expand on where the item came from, like a Chasing Cardboard episode. These are all compelling reasons to like the idea of live auctions. You think we dove in? We did. We dove all in. In fact, we started with live auctions on Whatnot in November of last year, and it wasn't pretty. Despite having an audience of about 60 people that first stream, we were inefficient. So we tweaked our format and back-end processing a few times, and we headed into December with some motivation. Well, we did 8 more live auctions in December. Now, granted, this was peak buying season, so we expected the numbers to be slightly skewed in our favor, and really a great time to test the market. You see, we sell sports cards. These are collector's items that typically don't have a lot of strings attached. They aren't vehicles that need to be test driven or clothes that need to be tried on. They are static pieces of cardboard that generally are pretty boring. But we noticed live selling gave us the opportunity to interject life into a boring item. We could tell the story or the history of the card. We could point to the exact episode we got them from, and it felt very natural and perfect for live selling. And as expected, it impacted our average selling price. What do you think it did to the average selling price of the card? It drove it higher, as it should. The card took on some life. So enter 2024. We kept tweaking and perfecting and doing live streams, and we were having a lot of fun and a lot of success. In 6 months, we hosted 33 live auctions. We completed over 4,000 transactions with an average order value of $38. Now you can do the math to figure out how much revenue we generated. And we did all of this in a combined 70 hours of live auctions. Now, on average, I'd say we prepared probably 4 hours for each live stream, and we needed about 2 hours for shipping. So that means we were all in at about 8 hours for each event. When you do some simple math, we were listing, selling, packing 15 items per hour. It's pretty efficient. And this video is not about those numbers, but I wanted you to know them. And I consider all of that really to be a huge success. But we started realizing a problem. We got the first comment saying, hey, super bummed I miss out. We couldn't sit around for 2 hours. And then the second comment, I had no idea that when you were on last night, you were selling those specific cards. Or the third one, darn it, can you give us better agendas for the evening? I want to know exactly when to show up. All very fair points. Over the course of 33 live auctions, we saw a very frustrating but understandable trend. Many of our closest buyers enjoyed the interaction in the community, as expected. But everyone on the fringe, and even newer buyers, were harder to nail down and get committed. You see, most of our buyers consider live auctions to be an inconvenience, and rightfully so. They have to be mentally and physically present to make a purchase. You consider the alternative of something like eBay, and a buyer can lay around in his pajamas watching Netflix and make bids or purchases on his schedule. For sellers, live auctions are convenient and efficient. But for buyers of most items, live auction events are a disruption in their life, and disruptions multiple times a week or month gets tiring. And this started to show itself with buyer fatigue and various polls that I would run during the live streams. Now, this is not a criticism of live auction platforms. In fact, platforms like Whatnot have advanced considerably the past couple years. They do an incredible job of making the experience enjoyable. This is simply an observation about the psychology of live auctions and what you should expect. So what does this mean for you and for me? I have 4 observations that aren't written in any of the rule books. These are points that I believe you should know before diving in as a seller. Number 1, know your unfair advantage. I walked into live auctions with an established audience from our show, and I had very clear stories that I could tell about my items. This was a very clear, unfair advantage. If you are starting out with live auctions, you need to get very clear on what gives you an advantage. Are you super knowledgeable? Are you incredibly entertaining? Are you super good looking? Do you have the craziest inventory every night? Whatever it is, you need to know exactly what sets you apart. And you need to be able to understand why a buyer would disrupt their schedule for you. Number 2, live auctions are easier for sellers, but more difficult for buyers. Your job as a live auction seller is to do whatever you can to make life easy for the buyer. Remember, you are disrupting their schedule. You are impeding on the single most important asset that person has, their time. So focus on delivery, focus on entertainment, focus on fun, but more importantly, focus on making the event easy for the buyer to buy. Give them agendas, upload manifest, use your email list before and after, communicate in the chat room, etc. Just do whatever you can to make it easy. Number 3, you'll never reach everyone. It doesn't matter how big your audience is, the harsh reality of live auction selling is that you'll only ever reach a fraction of your potential audience. In addition, that fraction of audience gets sliced even more based on their real-time availability and life's challenges. You just have to accept this. And in live auctions, audience is paramount. You need audience to sell items. So just accept the fact right now that your buyer pool will be smaller. So you have to adjust your approach to maintain the good sales prices. But I do have a small caveat. Don't always assume audience size is directly correlated with prices, because as you'll notice for the right items, you might not need the largest audience. You just need the right audience. And over time, you're gonna build an audience of good buyers, and they will do very good at keeping your prices higher for you. But just remember, they are a fraction of the larger audience, and they are people who have schedules. And number 4 is loyalty. This one totally surprised me because one of the big draws of live selling is that it's fast paced and it puts buyers in a situation where they will spend quickly and usually impulsively. It can and does lead to buyers paying more than comps for items. That can work out well in your favor. And for us, if things got out of hand with price, we just toss in extras to make the buyers feel good about the purchase. But those impulse buys inherently work against trust and loyalty. As a seller, you likely aren't doing anything wrong. The buyer is making the purchase, but if they overpay, they associate you as the culprit. So because of this, there's an added element of building trust. Live auction selling requires a lot of extra attention and focus around building loyalty, attention that most sellers might not want to give. But you need to be aware that it does require your attention. Overall, live auctions have their place, and I believe they will become more commonplace in the future. But they have flaws, and you need to be realistic about this reality. I know we'll continue to tweak our approach to live auctions, and we're going to find ways to make it valuable to you as a buyer, but hopefully this challenges you to do the same. And then real quick, if you're a sports card hobbyist, check out this video right here I did with my boys. Spoiler alert, it involves fire, water, and 25-foot drops. See you later.